You're listening to the Life of Lozo podcast.
We are live here at Life of Lozo.
He is the funniest, smartest, sexiest guy I know.
Lozo is now live.
Yo, on this episode, I recap Season 3 of the Life of Lozo podcast. I give a little bit of recap and love to everybody that joined for the season and give some spoiler alerts for 2018, so listen up. Thank you to our sponsors, State 2 Studios, The Taylor Shop Inc., 03 Productions, A. Charles Photos, The Beat Brigade, Rhyme Designs Clothing, Ronz War Guitars, The Music Experience, Custom Shirts and more, The Art of Kyle Willis, TheMishmash.com, and of course, Jack's Nutrition. Let's go. Yo, Life of Lozo podcast here in FTS Podcast Studio O, Orlando, Florida. The beautiful Orlando, Florida, and the 80 degrees during the week of Christmas, Orlando, Florida. Soon to be 80 degrees to kick off the year 2018. This is the Season 3 wrap-up show, and really just a great end of the third season, kind of timing itself right with the end of the year here. 2017 was a big year for me. I turned 40 this year, and I had a couple of, I guess life bucket lists objectives to get done. I said, I think 2017 will be a big year. Some things that I really, really want to accomplish, and this podcast really being one of them, and really working through the majority of 2016 to get to the point of launching the Life of Lozo in March, and really having a great time and staying consistent with it and enjoying having friends and family on the show, enjoying bringing new people onto the show that I met through friends and family, or just through, meeting cool people out in public and, whatever. So it was just a great year, and really, really felt good about the Season 3 here. I think as well, when we get to the end of this, I'm going to talk a little bit about 2018 and some of the things that I've got on the dockets and some ideas and some more content and getting more content out a lot more often. So I'll go ahead and get this recap going. The first episode of Season 3 was myself, actually, episode 21. It was kind of cool. A lot of people had were asking me for more information. I typically talk to friends and guests on the show, and as we have conversations, I share stories. Sometimes they ask me questions. We have good conversation, but a lot of people were just trying to, get some more information, get to know me a little bit more. The crazy part was, initially starting this whole podcast, it was because it was something that I really wanted. I mean, it's still something that I really enjoy doing. It's all about like having fun, having a good time, no pressure, no real agenda, and just talking to people that I want to talk to. But as the year went on, had some opportunities to get, some publicity, highlighted in a couple of things. I published my show on Podbean, and it was really cool because they actually featured the show for a while. And, I think up to this point now, I'm over 1,100 followers just in Podbean. And so that was kind of different and new. I never really thought far ahead of like, oh, well, what happens when more and more people listen to the show and they don't know me? I always just kind of imagine this. I'm going to put out this content. People that I know, people that I've met, maybe friends of friends would listen to it, and they kind of have an idea of who I am and where I come from and what I enjoy. So having a lot more followers and a lot of people listening was really, really cool. But also a lot of people were asking questions and wanted to get more information. So that episode with Don and with Christian was a really, really good time, and kind of got to flip the tables and answer some questions from them. But I really enjoyed myself, and that was cool. Episode 22, Sean Hawkins returns to the show. He actually was on the show twice this season. So episode 22, we talked about the year 1994, Gold Decade of Hip Hop. Again, great conversation, a lot of fun. We enjoy talking about these records because literally, especially when we get later into the season, we talked about 97. That's when we really kind of first met and started hanging out. So, we really got to hear these albums at the same time and had very similar, kind of opinions and thoughts, both being from the Midwest, both being from Michigan at that time. and knowing, a lot of the things that were going around in our area, in our region. So it's cool. We always have a great time on the show. Spoiler alert, we're going to do some more stuff in 2018, but I'll talk about that in a few minutes here. But enjoyed it. 94 was a fantastic year, and we had a really good time doing that show. And Sean admitted to boosting cassettes in Lansing many years ago. So that was a fun highlight of the show. Episode 23 was Chris Stark, my co-host and partner on Hacking Your Leadership podcast. So that was something that really kind of spun out of Life of Lozo during 2017. I really didn't even consider that initially starting the podcast. If you listen to some of the previous shows, you know that initially it was going to be the golden decade of hip hop, and it was just going to be a podcast about the years of the 90s in hip hop. And then, of course, it took a turn, and it turned into Life of Lozo. And then, of course, in Life of Lozo, after getting a handful of episodes in, a lot of people were asking me questions about leadership and saying, hey, dude, like, we've known you for so long as a leader. Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about being a leader and your thoughts and how you approach the work and how you talk to people, how you lead people? And so I said, cool. I brought Chris on the show. We did a couple of episodes answering questions from listeners specific to leadership. Got a lot of really good feedback on those episodes. A lot of people that really enjoyed it. And then, Chris and I started talking a little bit more about it and decided, we wanted to keep Life of Lozo as Life of Lozo and not turn it into a leadership podcast. And we kind of spun off and came up with the Hacking Your Leadership concept. And so, it was cool because, we've got 30-something, 40 episodes of Hacking Your Leadership out. We have a bunch of holiday hacks that were happening during the months of November, December. And a few weeks back, we were featured in Forbes. We had a guy reach out to us and did an article and interview Chris about the show and just some thoughts on leadership. And that was kind of a big deal. So that was really, really cool. And we're still kind of glowing in the aftermath of some of that publicity and enjoying that and continuing to talk about how we want to, work through Hacking Your Leadership. But I wanted to have Chris on Life of Lozo. I figured, he was on a couple times, just briefly introduced himself. We talked about the leadership questions. And then even with Hacking Your Leadership, like our first episode for Hacking Your Leadership, it was like a couple of minute intro, like what I just explained about how the show came about. But that's been about it. So I wanted Chris to be on and to talk about him personally, his thoughts, reminisce a little bit about our, friendship over the years. And that was a really, really fun show. It was a good show. And it was a good time. I enjoyed that one. Episode 24, Daniel Matorka. So you hear me say it all the time, the Tailor Shop Inc. As a sponsor of the show. Daniel is a master tailor and a bespoke tailor in Jacksonville, and he owns the Tailor Shop Inc. On Southside Boulevard. And so, I've known him for a few years now, and he had a major fashion show. He does one every year, and he had one coming up in November. And so I wanted to get him on the show. So I went down to the shop there, and we did a portable podcast. And if you want to know about fashion, if you want to know about custom shirts and handmade suits and all kinds of stuff, I would tell you to check out that episode. It was a really cool episode. It was a lot of fun. It was literally launched the day before his fashion show. And the fashion show this year was unbelievable. I posted a couple of pictures up on Instagram, but just the designs that he did and the show itself was unreal. But that was a fun show to do. Daniel's always been a huge supporter of mine, and he's always from day one said he wanted to be involved in the podcast just because he knew I was doing something. And so that was really, really cool, and it was great to be able to highlight him and talk to him about the work that he does and just that quality. I learned a lot in hanging out with Daniel, and hopefully people that listen to that show can get some good knowledge around fashion and just fashion and design. So great episode though. Episode 25, the music experience. So I had Squiggy, Sarah, Cameron, and Mikey come on through to SDS Podcast at Stay Tuned Studios, And I had talked to Squiggy a little bit about it. He's been on the show a couple of times, but he said, we had a great year with the music experience. And he's like, I want to bring the team in and just kind of recap the year and have some fun and talk a little bit about it. And so that's exactly what we did. It was a great time. It was a really fun show. It's probably one of my favorite listening shows. Just because it was the first time I've had so many people on the show at once, and everybody was mic'd up, and everybody just had a lot of fun. And I was talking to Kyle Willis about it, and Kyle was texting me as he was listening to the show, as he normally does, and he said, it was a lot of fun because it felt like I was sitting next to you guys, like in a booth at a restaurant, and you guys were just having a conversation and carrying on, and cracking some jokes. And he's like, I could tell that you guys were just looking at each other a certain way, and everybody would start laughing. And so he's like, it was just a really fun episode to listen to. So, and I completely agree. It was a great time, and looking forward to doing some more with those guys in 2018. I'm going to be traveling with them. It looks like going out to California and seeing them at NAMM at the end of January. So that'll be cool. I've been to NAMM before a couple times, but this time, I'm really going to be going on behalf of the Life of Lozo podcast and getting in there and getting some content, talking to some people, and having a great time. So a little bit of a spoiler alert, but that's going to be happening at the end of January. Episode 26 was Mike and Daniel. It was a road trip podcast driving back from South Florida. We were talking aliens from Orlando down to Miami. I think it was somewhere around 3.5, 4 hours or so of a car trip. And on the way down to Miami, we were just kind of talking in the truck, and I asked them, I'm a huge Joe Rogan podcast listener. And he had recently had Tom DeLonge on, and they were talking about this, Academy to the Stars thing and aliens and all this type of crazy stuff. And so I had just watched it, over the course of the previous 2 days at the gym. And I asked them if they had seen it yet, and they said no. And I was like, well, let's watch it. So we, I threw it up on the phone, and we watched it while we were driving. And, we were laughing about it and just, cutting up and just talking about it. And so on the way back up from South Florida, I decided we were going to record. And that's what we did. We just had a good time talking aliens and really enjoyed ourselves. It was fun. It was a good time. And it's always cool to just, I think, just go out on a whim and just have some content and just talk some craziness. But I enjoyed that show, and it also made the trip happen a lot faster, and it was a lot more fun. Episode 27, I brought in my better half, Courtney, the wife of Lozo, and obviously she has been a huge supporter of mine for many years now. And as I was coming up with the podcast idea. And wanting to get back into some type of media content and hosting something, she was, of course, saying like, well, whatever you want to do, I want you to have some fun and follow a passion of yours. And so, we recently relocated down to Orlando from Jacksonville here. And as a part of the relocation, we got a house and a place where I was able to really set up my whole studio how I wanted to. We have enough space here to do that and get all my stuff out and get all my gear out, buy some new gear, all those types of fun things. And I just really wanted to have her be my first guest in the studio here, which was a lot of fun. It was cool, and she was really kind of nervous about it, wasn't really sure, and then we started talking, and we just had a really great conversation. It was a lot of fun, and I think that. I think now that she's had a chance to do that, there's a good chance that we may do it again. Or she may get involved somehow in some type of podcasting, because she seemed to really enjoy it, and I really enjoyed it, and it was just it was a fun conversation. So I know a lot of people and friends of ours, reached out and told us they were listening and they really enjoyed the show. So that was kind of cool and different as well. Episode 28, Frankie Liz. The gatekeeper of the hills. So, a part of this move and being in this house in this neighborhood is that we got some pretty cool ass neighbors and a pretty cool ass neighborhood. So, again, spoiler alert, looking forward to 2018. I think you'll meet a lot more characters from the hills here. in Winter Garden, and Frankie is one of them. And I was gonna have a couple of the guys on the show on a Sunday night, but hey, families happen and things go on, and it ended up just being Frankie. But we took full advantage of that. We had a great time. Talked a lot about that pew pew life, and cracked some jokes, and it was a fun time. And I think it was cool because I know a lot of people listen to the show here in the neighborhood, and I think now they kind of get a sense of what it is and kind of how we do things. So I'm definitely looking forward to bringing in all the rest of the hoodlums over here in the hills and the Dub Gs, and we'll get some more shows going. And of course, I know we talked about the prom and all the crazy parties we want to have, so we will be documenting all those as well. Episode 29, Sean Mike's back again. That was the year 97, Golden Decade of Hip Hop. And again, that was a big year for us. That was the year that we actually met. We got into doing college radio. We got into doing stuff with the College Music Journal, Def Jam, Rough House, College Reps, Double XL Magazine, College Reps. It was starting in 97, getting into 98, 99. We did a lot of those things. And so that was a big year. And we really enjoyed that show. Some classic albums, some major albums, and it was just fun to reminisce and talk about that year. Talk about our spring break that year, 97, in March, which we mentioned in the show. We were actually driving to Orlando, of all places, for a spring break, and we were stopping in Atlanta because one of our other roommates, Brandon, had gone to Clark Atlanta. He had lived in Atlanta, and we wanted to go check it out because, we were DJs in hip hop. And at that year, towards the end of the 90s there, Atlanta was really, really blown up in the hip hop scene from a commercial standpoint, which was cool. And so we were just excited to go to Atlanta and check out record stores and go to all the different parts of Atlanta that we hear about in all the songs. So that was a good time. It was also sad because while we were on that trip, that's when Notorious B.I.G. got shot and killed. And so we heard that on the radio and then listened to a lot of that Life After Death album on repeat because everybody was playing it pretty much the whole time we were on spring break. So a good episode. We got a handful of years left. Of course, I'm going to bring in some more people to talk hip hop, but it's always a good time to bring Sean in and talk about these years. But he and I are, again, after I talk about this last episode here, I'll give you guys a couple of spoiler alerts on some of the things that I'm working on for 2018. But it was cool. It was nice to have him in. It was nice for him to only have to drive a short amount of time to come and hang out and be in studio versus having to come all the way up to Jacksonville or for us to kind of have the portable gear out. So that was really cool. Super excited about continuing to have more of those conversations. And then episode 30, the last episode of season 3, Alex Bacani. So Lex Luthor, my boy Lex, who I've known for a lot of years. And it was great to have him on the show. We've always stayed in touch. We've always been really good friends. We had a lot of fun in LA when I was living out there and, recorded a lot of projects, opened up a studio together in Orange County. And always enjoyed it, man. I guess one of those things where it's like, you meet good people and they're just fun to hang out with is awesome. And then also when they're talented and you can vibe, from a creative standpoint and you like to have the same kind of work ethic and same dedication and commitment to just trying to do really good music. That's kind of who Lex was and is still. And again, I'm looking forward to having him on the show more often, and I think doing some really specific content to things that we both enjoy talking about. So that was all 10 episodes of the third season of Life of Lozo. So no new sponsor read-offs. All the sponsors that I had. Nobody new into season 3. So obviously, thanking all of them is always a must for me. But no need to go into descriptions and who everybody is. Season 1 recap and season 2 recap will have all of that information. So just a couple of 2018 updates and things to look forward to. I'm going to take off the majority of January. I don't think I'm going to have any episodes until I think probably the end of January. I'm got some content coming up. I got some projects coming up. I got some things that I'm working on. But as usual, I usually take about 2 to 3 weeks off between seasons, just to catch up a little bit and kind of strategize. So as I mentioned earlier, getting into January, I'm going out to LA for about a week and going to do the NAMM thing, and that'll be really, really cool. Great content, a lot of fun. Look forward to that. I've got, as a part of another passion point of mine, I mentioned this in other episodes as well, is the Josh Samman MMA Foundation. I'm really looking forward to 2018. I'm actually going to be on the board of directors for them, which is going to be a lot of fun and pretty awesome. And I'm looking forward to continuing to support that nonprofit. But one thing I'm also going to do this year is take up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I've been a fan of BJJ for a long time. I've been an MMA fan for a long time. I've had a chance to be in gyms with some of those guys and do some work, but I've never actually, taken classes. I've never actually learned from somebody, who's an instructor. And so that's going to be happening in 2018. I'm actually going to be documenting quite a bit of that for a project I'm working on. But you'll be hearing me talk about that on the podcast. I'm going to bring in some friends of mine and some local fighters and some people that either fight or compete MMA or BJJ. But that'll be cool. That'll be some great content for 2018. Sean and I discussed on that show, episode 29. We had a show in college. The first one that we got in for college radio was called Face Off, and it was a show that he and I did, and that's kind of what kicked everything off. And it was just me and him, and we would DJ and play records and have a lot of fun. And that at some point that led to the Player Hated Eight, which was the show that we really became known for, which was just underground hip hop and a bunch of guests that would come on, and we would enjoy just doing mixes and remixes and things like that. But we're going to relaunch Face Off in 2018, Sean and I, and I think the concept is going to be talking about promoting and reviewing independent hip hop artists that we like, that we find. So if you are an independent hip hop artist and you make great music, send it to us so we can check it out. One of the things that's important to me always when it comes to the culture is always being positive and pushing it forward and promoting talented individuals. So what we're not going to do is have a show that is opinion based on things that we don't like, or we feel we want to say that it's not a good album or not a good thing. I have my own opinions on stuff. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. If I hear stuff and I listen to it and I don't like it, I just won't talk about it, because I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not trying to throw shade. I want people who make their own music to make their own music, and no matter whether I like it or not, like, keep doing your thing, man. Whoever you are, whatever you do, if it brings you joy in life and you like it and you have passion for it, then go do it. I'm just not going to be that guy that takes my opinion and puts it on other people's stuff. I know how, having been somebody who's worked in the industry and worked with independent artists and worked with major labels, I know how hard it is to get stuff done, recorded, and then how stressful it is to put your stuff out there. It's you're really exposing your talent when you put it out for the public to hear. So anybody who's doing that, regardless of if I think it's awesome or if I think it's not, hats off. Kudos to you. Do your thing, keep doing your thing. So I'm not trying to stop any of that whatsoever. So I think what Sean and I are going to do is ask people to send us stuff. I think we're gonna comb SoundCloud. We're gonna comb the internet. We're gonna check out Team Backpack pages and any other type of hip hop Facebook groups that we're a part of, and just try to find independent artists that we like. And then the idea is that we'll both listen to their stuff. If they have an album, they have an EP, whatever it is, we'll listen to their music. And then we will talk about it. We will talk about what we like, what we enjoy, specifically about whether it's the lyrics, whether it's the delivery, whether it's the production, the concepts, whatever it is. We'll talk about what tracks we enjoy, and just have some fun and kind of break it down and probably tie it back to other styles of music or artists or things like that. So I just want to have fun. I just want to talk hip hop. It's what Sean and I enjoy doing. And I want to take that opportunity to highlight, up and coming or independent artists. So that's going to be happening in 2018. So look forward to the Face Off as well. And then as a part of, we still have, man, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of golden decade of hip hop left to talk about as well. But there was a lot of conversations, especially just in the last couple of weeks. Everything from, Eminem dropping a new album to Black Thought, having a freestyle of Funkmaster Flex. Like, there was a lot of things that got people stirred up around MCs and lyricists. And so I had talked to Sean, and I talked to Kool-Aid, and I talked to Squiggy about the idea of discussing top fives. I've actually had, I've expressed who my top five are. And so there's been a lot of kind of buzz around that recently. So I think we're going to do a special edition top five episode in 2018. But I am doing a lot of the background work on that right now. It's not going to be just about what are my top five, what are Sean's top five, or whoever else is here. I'm doing a bunch of research. I'm getting a lot of opinions. I have a goal of talking to 100 people. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to 100 people, either myself or through proxy, through Sean, through through Kool-Aid, through Squiggy, through Bodega Brad, through Cut Nice, through Casey Cass, through E House, through man, so many people. People Mover, DJ Jericho, everybody. DJ Shotgun, whoever I can talk to about top fives. I'm gonna get 100 people to tell me who their top fives are, and then we're gonna take that data and we're going to boil that down, to be able to get kind of an idea of how people feel, and then we're gonna do our best to kind of trim it down to what our friends of friends of friends of 7 degrees of separation think about top five. So that's what the goal is. That's what I'm working on right now. I've already talked to a handful of people, and I'm getting the word out. So if you are listening to the show here and the recap and this part of the episode, and you have an opinion on who you feel are the top 5 MCs, and take that for whatever you mean, because I know it can mean. Does that mean lyricist? Does that mean performer? Does that ring songwriter? I know exactly what you're saying. I get it. But if you're listening and you want to be a part of this, shoot me a text or an email. If you got my number, text me. If you got my email, it's just lozo@lifeoflozo.com. But what I'm looking for is your name. I'm looking for, what region you represent. So what I mean by that is, like, are you from the South, the East, the West, or do you want to claim a state, a city? Are you from Michigan or Detroit or Georgia, Atlanta? Are you from Florida, Miami? If you're from New York, and I've talked to a couple of New York people, so I'm like, do you want it to be from the East Coast, from New York, or do you want to pick a borough? And of course, I hear Bronx, Brooklyn, right, Queens. So that's what I need. I need name. I need what region you want to claim, because I'm also looking at data points of perspective from across the country or the world, and maybe how that has an influence on this. And then I need your top 5, and only 5. That's all you get. 5 it is. If you pick a group, that counts as 1. But that's how it's going to work. So if you're listening, you want to be a part of it, shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I'd love to get it, because that'll save me a little bit of legwork over the next month here as I'm collecting this information. But that's going to be a really fun show as well. And then finally, now that I've got the full studio here, I got the turntable set up. I'm bringing out the production gear. This is so much easier now for me to just step into the studio and record. My full on intent for 2018 is to get at least twice a week. I want to get content up for the Life of Lozo podcast and some of the things that I just discussed. I also want to get my YouTube channel up and running as well, so that I can have some video content. So look forward to that. And then also there'll be a lot of stuff with Hacking Your Leadership as we continue to increase our output on that show too. So I think 2018 is going to be the real big kickoff year of way more content. 2017 was launch and efficiency and commitment and get it done and work through it and figure out what works. And I think now 2018 is expand and get out more content. So I'm looking forward to it. So again, thank you everybody who listens. Thank you to all the followers. Please continue to get the word out if you wouldn't mind. Like the shows, share the shows, comment on the shows. Please rate us on iTunes or Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called. Please rate us on that. That's a big deal in regards to helping us with rankings, which then helps us get more eyeballs on the show. But I appreciate all of you. It's been a fantastic 2017. I couldn't be more excited and more thankful for everything that's happened, and it's going to be even a crazier 2018. So thanks, y'all. Thank you so much for the support, and tune back in towards the end of January. Talk to y'all later. Peace. The Life of Lozo podcast is brought to you by Stay Tuned Studios, SDS Podcast, The Taylor Shop Inc., 03 Productions, The Beat Brigade, Rhyme Designs Clothing, Ronz Guitars, The Music Experience, Custom Shirts and More, Local Goods Market, The Art of Powerless, The Samman MMA Foundation, TheMishmash.com, Jack's Nutrition, and A. Charles Photos. Thank you for tuning in to Season 3. Please have a great rest of your year and tune in for Season 4 starting at the end of January. Peace.